Welcome to the Global WarWatch Network. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the complex and rapidly evolving situation in Bangladesh. It's just over a year since that student-led uprising, the one that toppled a long-standing government. But now the country is grappling with, well, renewed violence and a lot of uncertainty. You've given us a stack of compelling sources. We've got fresh news reports on recent clashes, some really in-depth human rights investigations, and crucial economic analyses, too. So our mission in this deep dive is really to extract the most important nuggets, help you quickly grasp the key players, the history, and, what this all means for Bangladesh and, frankly, beyond.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here truly is how interconnected everything is. The past, the present. We'll be looking at this recent unrest in Gopalganj, definitely. But we also need to trace the roots back to those dramatic 2024 protests and examine the profound human rights implications and understand the really significant economic and international ripples. These go far beyond Bangladesh's borders.
Okay, right. Let's unpack this then. Let's get to the heart of what's happening. To understand today, we really do need to rewind quickly. Back to July and August of last year, 2024. This wasn't just any protest, was it? It was a student-led uprising. And it ultimately brought down Sheikh Hasina's 16-year Awami League government on August 5th. Now, for context, the Awami League, they're one of Bangladesh's two dominant sort of dynastic political parties, right? Been central for ages. So what was the initial spark, that flashpoint that ignited such widespread unrest?
Well, it's important to connect this, like you said, to the bigger picture. The High Court had reinstated this controversial government job quota system. This was June 5th, 2024. It reserved a third of jobs for descendants of the 1971 Liberation War veterans. And students just saw this as fundamentally unfair. Blow to meritocracy, equal opportunity. That's what sparked the initial protests. But the sources really highlight how quickly Hasina's government reacted. Strong rhetoric, police crackdowns, attacks by groups tied to the ruling Awami League, like the Chatra League. This heavy-handed approach, well, it significantly escalated things.
Right.
Protests turned violent by mid-July. Direct attacks by Chatra League, by police. The government even shut down universities, imposed internet blackouts, a near-total national shutdown by July 18th.
Wow.
And then a nationwide curfew by the 19th. Armed forces firing into crowds. There's even that really disturbing video showing police dumping an injured student.
Yeah, the reports from that time were chilling. But to really grasp the gravity, we need to look at the official investigations. What did the independent inquiries find? Specifically, that OHCHR report. And just for our listeners, OHCHR is the UN's Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. Their top human rights watchdog, basically. So their findings carry, well, immense weight here.
They absolutely do. Their independent fact-finding inquiry, it covered July 1st to August 15th, 2024. And it found reasonable grounds to believe, that's the official term, that the former government, its security, its intelligence apparatus, along with elements of the Awami League, systematically engaged in serious human rights violations.
Systematically, not just isolated incidents then.
Exactly. They included hundreds of extrajudicial killings, serious injuries to thousands of protesters, including children, extensive arbitrary arrest and detention and torture, even sexual and gender-based violence. The numbers themselves are just stark. An estimated 1,400 protest-related deaths, 13,529 injuries recorded by the Ministry of Health, though they do note the data is likely incomplete. Medical staff were just overwhelmed.
Understandable. Yeah.
And then 11,702 arrests by police and the Rapid Action Battalion, the RAB. That's their sort of specialized anti-crime unit. But what's really alarming is this: 78% of 130 deaths they examined were from firearms, including military rifles and shotguns using lethal metal pellets.
Military-grade weapons.
Weapons, as they say, commonly used only by police, paramilitary, and military forces, and not readily available to civilians. And yes, there was that video. Police burning a pile of bodies on August 5th.
Those are deeply disturbing numbers. 1,400 deaths. Thousands injured, over 10,000 arrests. And that image you mentioned, police burning bodies. It's incredibly powerful, speaks volumes about the brutality. Makes you wonder how a government could even authorize that kind of response. So Hasina's departure, it was a seismic shift, obviously. But the immediate aftermath wasn't peaceful, was it? What unfolded right after she fled, beyond the initial, celebrations?
Right. Sheikh Hasina fled to India on August 5th, 2024. But the jubilation, yeah, it was quickly followed by a new wave of violence. You saw crowds engaging in retaliatory killings, revenge attacks, targeting Awami League officials, supporters, police, even media seen as supportive of the old government.
So reprisal attacks.
Exactly. And disturbingly, These attacks also hit minority groups.
Hmm.
The Hindu community, Ahmadiyya Muslims, indigenous groups, burning homes, attacks on places of worship, and symbolically, statues of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, that's Hasina's father, a foundational figure in Bangladesh. They were toppled, defaced.
Mm.
His own house in Dhaka was torched later in February 2025. It really shows how deep these divisions run.
Yeah, the memory of that uprising clearly still haunts Bangladesh. But the story isn't over, not by a long shot. In fact, just yesterday, July 17th, 2025, new violence erupted, this time in Gopalganj, which is Sheikh Hasina's ancestral home, casting a fresh shadow. What exactly ignited this latest flare-up?
Well, the reports indicate clashes during a National Citizen Party rally, that's the NCP,
Yeah.
left 4 people dead, though some reports actually say 7 Awami League supporters were killed and scores injured. The military, paramilitary, riot police, they were deployed quickly, patrolling in armored vehicles, businesses shut down, residents ordered indoors, a 22-hour curfew, I believe. The violence apparently erupted just ahead of this student-led NCP march. NCP supporters clashed with police, but also with rival groups, including backers of Sheikh Hasina.
Right, so Awami League loyalists.
Presumably, yes. 14 people were detained, cases are underway, and Chief Adviser Muhammad Yunus's office. They issued a statement pretty fast, described the violence as utterly indefensible, vowed perpetrators wouldn't go unpunished, and a government inquiry committee was formed immediately. So they're treating it seriously.
What's truly fascinating here, though, is how immediate and conflicting the narratives were. Both sides put out statements condemning the violence, but straight away pointing fingers at each other. What does that tell us about the current state of, well, trust and political discourse in Bangladesh? Is reconciliation even possible when the basic facts are so contested right from the start?
That's a huge question, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hasina's banned Awami League Party. They condemned it on X, formerly Twitter, held the interim government responsible for the deaths and injuries, alleged blatant use of security apparatus and mob violence against dissenters.
Okay, so blaming the government forces.
Yes, but then on the other side, the NCP convener, Nahid Islam, he claimed Mujibist terrorists had carried out a planned armed attack. And it's important, as you said, Mujibist refers to supporters of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, Hasina's father, foundational figure. Using that label itself just highlights these deep historical fault lines in their politics.
It's loaded language.
Very. Nahid Islam went further, warned the Awami League is not a political party, rather a terrorist organization. He called for liberating Gopalganj in Bangladesh from Mujibist terrorism and fascism, and accused authorities of failing to arrest key Awami League members.
Wow, strong words.
Extremely strong. And adding to this, a former Awami League minister, Obadil Quater, he called for mass resistance, talked about a long march to Yamuna, meaning Dhaka, criticized what he called an unprovoked attack, and claimed the army opened fire on innocent civilians for the first time in Bangladesh history. Said it would tarnish the army's image.
So, directly accusing the army now, too.
Yes. Meanwhile, eyewitnesses reportedly saw protesters armed with bamboo sticks and bricks vandalizing police and admin vehicles, and security forces responding with gunfire. But despite all this damage, the NCP rally actually proceeded, with Nahid Islam declaring, quite chillingly, if law enforcement failed to deliver justice, we will ensure it ourselves.
That sounds like a threat.
It certainly does. And local media residents, they also reported something interesting. It wasn't just Awami League supporters resisting the NCP rally. It was common citizens, even workers from the BNP, the other major party.
Ah, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party. So a broader resistance.
It suggests a broader opposition, yeah.
Yeah.
Highlighting how complex the alliances and animosities are right now.
Okay, so both sides spinning hard. Trust is rock bottom. It really seems the interim government, under Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus, has struggled to contain this fallout. What does this chaotic political landscape actually mean for Bangladesh's stability a year after the uprising?
Well, this raises that critical question, doesn't it, about the current political landscape. The sources paint a picture of, frankly, significant fragmentation. New players vying for power. You have the student protesters who formed this National Citizen Party, the NCP. Their aim was to break the mold, the influence of the two big dynastic parties, Awami League and BNP.
Right, disrupt the status quo.
Exactly. But NCP opponents accused them of being too close to Yunus's administration, maybe even creating chaos. Then you have Bangladesh's largest Islamist party, Jamaat Islami. They were suppressed for over a decade under Hasina. Now they've returned to politics, aligning themselves with this student-led party, trying to fill the vacuum left by the banned Awami League.
So, strange bedfellows, perhaps?
Potentially. And now we're seeing the BNP, the other established party, and Jamaat-e-Islami actually at loggerheads, vying for supremacy within the administration, the judiciary, even on university campuses. It's like, imagine a political chessboard where the main pieces are suddenly gone and all the pawns are scrambling to become rulers. That chaotic
That's a
struggle.
vivid image.
And then there were disagreements on when to even hold elections. Yunus wants reforms first, maybe April next year. The military chief reportedly wanted December 2025. Jamaat wants more reform time. The BNP wants elections sooner rather than later. This isn't just political jostling. It's a fundamental challenge to stability. How does this level of fragmentation impact Yunus's ability to actually govern?
That's a profound challenge, isn't it? Because effective governing needs consensus, or at least a manageable opposition. And it sounds like Yunus has neither right now. And what about human rights under this new administration, especially for minorities? Has there been improvement, or are the concerns still just as grave?
Well, human rights remain, and the reports use this phrase, a serious concern. Minority groups, particularly Hindus, have directly blamed Yunus's administration for failing to protect them, citing hundreds of attacks over the last year. That's according to the Bangladesh Hindu-Buddhist Christian Unity Council.
Hundreds of attacks. That's deeply worrying.
It is. And Hasina's party accuses the interim government of arresting tens of thousands of its supporters, which the Yunus admin denies. Now, Human Rights Watch does note a reduction in enforced disappearances and extrajudicial executions compared to Hasina's government, which is positive.
Okay, so some improvement there.
Some. But HRW also states there's been little progress on lasting security sector reforms or to deliver on the pledge to create robust, independent institutions. So that's a mixed bag, really. Fewer direct abuses, maybe, but a lack of that deep systemic reform.
Which raises questions about the long-term prospects, doesn't it? And what leverage does the international community have to push for those deeper changes?
That's the key question. And adding another layer of complexity, you have Islamist factions now vying for power, proposing changes to women's rights, demanding Sharia law, even though, historically, they've struggled to get broad electoral support.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this political instability, it isn't just domestic, is it? It has significant economic ramifications, ones that affect you, the listener, even if you're far away. So beyond that staggering $10 billion loss figure cited by FICCI, what's the real insight here? How quickly can this instability unravel an economy? Why is Bangladesh's role in the global supply chain, that China plus one strategy, so critical? And what does this mean for companies looking to diversify?
Yeah, that $10 billion figure is huge, but the insight is, like you say, how fast things can unravel. This isn't just numbers on a page. It's lost livelihoods, it's a damaged international reputation, it's a fundamental shift in how the world views Bangladesh as a place to do business. The domestic economy has been battered. And this political instability puts that huge question mark on Bangladesh as an attractive China plus one option.
Right, the diversification strategy.
Exactly. Companies looking to move some production out of China into other Asian nations. Bangladesh was a key contender.
Right.
Now, well, while some garment factories, a key revenue generator for them, reopened after 4 days of recent trouble, some Indian producers are already diverting production back to India for the rest of the year.
That's a quick reaction. Shows how nervous investors are.
Absolutely. Restoring law and order is just crucial for economic stability, to stop investors pulling out. And beneath all this, you still have significant inequality, significant poverty. About 40% of Bangladeshis aged 15-24 are not working, studying, or in training. That's a huge pool of potential discontent.
A massive challenge. And how has this new political landscape, this leadership shift, impacted Bangladesh's international relationships? Have we seen a major diplomatic pivot?
We certainly have. During Hasina's long rule, Bangladesh was arguably India's closest partner in the region, but the Yunus-led administration has made a very notable move closer to China. Yunus's first state visit back in March 2025 was to China. He secured significant investments there.
Okay, so a clear signal.
A very clear signal. India, in turn, is reportedly angered by Hasina's ouster. They haven't responded to extradition requests for her. And they even stopped issuing visas to Bangladeshis for a time, which speaks volumes about the diplomatic chill.
Wow, stopping visas, that's serious.
It is. On the other hand, Yunus does have strong backing from the West and the United Nations. But there's another challenge, what some are calling the Trump factor. The Trump administration suspended U.S. II funds back in January 2025. Those funds were pretty significant for Bangladesh's rebuilding and development efforts. So that puts even more pressure on this new government.
Okay, so just to quickly recap where we are, Bangladesh is navigating this deeply fractured political landscape, huge economic pressures, significant human rights challenges, all while trying to chart a completely new path after such dramatic leadership change. The path forward looks, well, it's certainly not clear, is it? The internal and external pressures are just immense.
Absolutely. And this really raises an important question for you, our listener, to consider. In a region where stability is often quite fragile, how might this ongoing struggle for power in Bangladesh, this push for fundamental reforms, how might it influence its neighbors and the wider global economic landscape in the coming years? What ripple effects should we be watching out for?
That's the key question indeed. We hope this deep dive has given you a clearer picture of the incredibly complex situation unfolding in Bangladesh. Thank you for joining us on this important exploration. If you found this deep dive valuable, please do like, share, and subscribe to the Global WarWatch Network. We really encourage you to put your thoughts in the comments section below. Let us know what you think. And join us on social media. All the links you need are provided right there in the description.